Hambini fans, and welcome. Now, if you are not familiar with this channel, then I make videos which are basically low rent versions of CoffeeZilla about unscrupulous bike companies and how they pass off goods with wild claims, bullshit materials and other stuff. And I've kind of pissed a few people off. Now, in today's episode, if you are not aware, someone has been stalking me. Unfortunately for them, but for the benefit of the comment section and the forthcoming ridicule, they are about to be outed. And what you're about to see is probably mind-blowing levels of utter stupidity. Now, before I go any further, this type of behaviour, which is a really shitty attempt to discredit people, is becoming way more commonplace. Now, companies can't really bully individuals so much because of SLAPP legislation. So that is using the legal system to kind of bully investigative journalists into submission. And this was kind of developed for the Russian oligarchs who were doing that. But anyway, I mean, you get lots of people making I reamed Hambini videos, Hambini was wrong, Hambini's a janitor, Hambini's just a plumber, blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is slightly worrying because with it, there's a lot of misinformation that's spread. Trying to suppress it, that's really not worth it. I mean, in this particular case, I think these events were designed to discredit me before the publication of some friction lubrication data. Now, friction lube in the world of cycling has an incredibly high profit margin on it. I mean, the events that play out in here you are probably a fairly extreme example. I mean, just in my case, all of my output is pretty much regulated. So I have an engineering license, and if I say something that is misleading or the methods and things that I use are not correct, then my registration will be revoked. So I'm checked by, other professional engineers. Now, given my media presence, this is scrutinised a lot more than other practicing engineers. And my last audit was in June. Joe Blogs on the street, I mean, they're not going to have that level of regulation at all. I mean, I would also stress that the bike world is full of people who know everything, and engaging with them on internet forums and things like that is just a waste of time. So I don't do anything like that anymore. I don't post on any forums or anything. I used to, but these days it's just not worth it. Now, last Friday, to be exact, a website went live called hambini.cc, and it was very much an aim to discredit me. This was accompanied by my channel and pretty much every other YouTube video with the name Hambini in it getting bombarded with spam bots. So let's start off with the website. Now, I'm not going to go through everything because I could be here all day, but I'll go through the main points. I think the major point, and people will find this quite disturbing, is someone has camped outside my house and has been watching me and my family. A lot of people will probably find that quite disturbing and creepy. Then they've followed me to the local shop. They've followed me inside and then watched me buy my lunch, and then finally followed me another 16 miles to my alleged place of work. Now, that is a slam dunk criminal level of stalking. Now, what is kind of more, I guess, mind-blowingly stupid is they've documented it with commentary and photographs. Now, if someone wants to know who's behind it, they can usually find out. So no VPN is completely anonymous, and CCTV certainly isn't. So wiping your trail or leaving no trail is pretty much impossible. It's extremely difficult. Now, if I go through these things in turn, some of these things are slides of my videos with the commentary carefully neglected to basically try and discredit me. So if you find the video and see what I actually said, you'll get the full picture. I refer back to what I said about misleading statements and engineering registration. For the record, I don't delete any videos. If they're gone, it's because they've been removed, probably by YouTube. Let me address the first one. My normal place of work is not Prax Oil Refinery, and I mean, I don't think any HR department is actually going to give details of anyone to a random punter, despite what the author claims in here. I mean, you can look at the about page on my website for further info about me. You can even hire me, so I can give you the details of where to hire me. The author has continued and then claimed I was a manual lathe operator, and he said that based on that, I wouldn't have enough money to have access to a commercially operating wind tunnel. Well, I mean, the going rate for that is about 200 quid an hour. Then we go through, something about military aircraft being linked to a university project and more epic bullshit, some lack of transcript about patents and accusing me of making bottom brackets at a place that I don't work at. Yeah, and more stuff basically to discredit my background. It's pretty much all false and defamatory. Then we come to the juicy bit about tax. And so this individual has gone to great lengths and made the world's crappiest LinkedIn profile for my dad. So this is the LinkedIn profile. So my dad's name is Sri, it's short for Srikantha, so it's the same name as me, it's the short form. And Vara, short form of Varaprasadam, so we have the same name. They're not fake names, they're just Dravidian names. We just shorten them because living with it on a day-to-day basis, having that many characters as spelling mistakes is just kind of like unavoidable. And banks and things don't support that many characters. Anyway, this is the LinkedIn profile. So firstly, my dad doesn't have LinkedIn. He doesn't do social media or any of that stuff. So this account is fake. And this profile, I think, has 2 connections, and the health advocate company doesn't even operate in the UK. It never has done. He's not retired, and he doesn't live in Grimsby. So someone has made this to kind of fit the scope of the stalking site. Then we've got a load of analysis of the hairdresser's finance details, claiming more, tax evasion. And finally, and this is the icing on the cake, if you are going to do something that you can be prosecuted to a criminal level, you need to make sure that you leave no trail or have an adequate defence. And that's when we come to this section, which is entitled Avoiding EU VAT. So someone has taken a screenshot of a page from my website from over 2 years ago, so you can see the date there, it's June 2021, which has a grand total of 3 lines, and then they've come to the conclusion from those 3 lines that I'm knowingly evading EU VAT. Now that is a fairly far-fetched claim, and I think most people would struggle to even link the two. Now, before I deleted this page, it had been viewed a grand total of 314 times. That includes me and web index services like Google and Bing. I actually deleted it because I said that all businesses needed to be VAT registered in the EU to sell goods there. That is factually incorrect. As an example, if you sold low-value goods on Amazon, Amazon would be your VAT intermediary, effectively. There's a scheme called iOS. This is an excerpt from AbsoluteBLACK's lawyers. Now, look carefully, you'll see the same factually incorrect statement that all businesses needed to be VAT registered in the EU, and the same allegations that I was avoiding EU VAT, and more importantly, knowingly doing it. You'll also see the verbatim copy of the 3-line page, and you'll see the icing on the cake, which is the bottom line, which confirms their client, AbsoluteBLACK, had noted that the page was deleted. I mean, who would even make a note of a 3-line web page from over 2 years ago being removed, let alone screenshotting it? It kind of narrows the 314 people down quite significantly. I mean, the fact that this stalking website is so heavily slanted towards tax evasion is just way too coincidental. Now, the statistical probability of this excerpt and the author of the stalker page is originating from different sources is basically 0. I counted 6 key facts, some of which are incorrect, that are identical in both sources. There's nothing that contradicts anything in those 2 sources. the fact that Absolute Black has a clear motive strengthens the argument, and if you saw the rest of the correspondence, it would probably remove any of your remaining doubt. So in a nutshell, I'm fairly sure it's them, and from the grammar, I know which individual wrote it. Now I have their address, and the police now have that for their investigations. So, I mean, if I was the individual responsible for this, they are in a bit of a sticky situation now, because the defamatory statements the police wouldn't really care about. And if I'd posted, you know, self-inflicted content in my social media, like a Strava map, that would be my fault. And if I was being followed for breaking the law, like cycling in a lockdown, that would also be my fault. Now the thing is, they've done the stupid thing of following me and photographically documenting it. So it takes that culpability to a whole new level. It's like something from Dumb and Dumber. And the attempt to anonymise it just aggravates it. I mean, I would not be sleeping all that well waiting for a knock on that door. But anyway, these days, the ability to kind of like do things anonymously, they're pretty much gone. So if you're going to do something, you really need to be able to defend it. And, you know, your internet trail is one lead, but there's also the physical lead, which is, yeah, CCTV. They'll inevitably be on CCTV somewhere. And then the key thing for Absolute Black is probably the reputational damage. Let's say one of the commentators, one of you guys out there watching, goes onto Absolute Black's Instacrap page and asks them if they were responsible for this. They could do one of three potential things. They could say yes, in which case they look like dicks. They could say nothing, or more likely block you, which is basically a proxy yes, or they could deny it. Now, if they deny it, well, the next question will be, please explain why your comments your solicitor made and all the points on the stalker page pretty much mirror each other. So anyway, Absolute Black loves litigation. So at this point, I mean, I think they've probably got some bigger things to worry about right now. But I'll conclude this video with a statement that says, it is, in my honest opinion, that Absolute Black were responsible for this, and I've justified my reasoning for it. It is not a statement of fact. Now, that brings us to the end of this video. If you did enjoy it, remember to smash that like button, and if you didn't, go fuck yourself. And as always, keep banging your hairdresser.